Hello and welcome to our Shichida Australia webinar. My name is Christian and I've been working at Shichida for about 6 years as an instructor, and I'm glad to be able to bring today's topic, Speed Reading Secrets, 5 Keys to Sowing the Seeds to Reading Mastery. Today's agenda is going to focus on the biggest challenges for parents, the fundamentals of reading, which is mainly association. I'll be focusing on that and what that means. And what does your child love the most about reading? Their initial desires to read and what that means. Number 3, nuts and bolts, learning sentences and paragraphs. And then 4, inputting vocabulary, how to help your child learn new vocabulary at a quicker rate. Finally, we'll be focusing on speed reading and then what is Shichida and how that helps you to, how the method helps you to prepare your child for a reading future. Now, the biggest challenges the parents face are helping children understand why reading is so important. Obviously, a child can't think 20 years into the future when they'll have a career, or even 5 or 6 years in the future where their world will essentially be open to new experiences. And if their reading ability is very strong, they'll be able to do that at a faster rate, and they'll even find school that much more easier to deal with, despite any challenges they face. The other challenge is how to encourage a child to read independently. Obviously, a parent finds it really fun to spend time with their child and then hear their questions and all of that. But how do you encourage a child to sit by themselves and actually learn how to read or even take information through books and magazines? Knowing when to teach reading is also a bit of an issue for parents because they don't have the experience that we have at Shichida. They don't know what is age appropriate, when children want to learn what. So that's a really important thing, and we'll give you some tips about that. Also, knowing if a child has reading difficulties like dyslexia. We won't really be focusing on that during this speech, but it's really important to keep that in mind. And if you have any questions about that, always ask your Shichida instructor, or if you have any questions, if you're not familiar with the Shichida program, give us a call or send us an email. We'll give you that information at the end. Finally, engaging with activities that parents can do at home. Now, the Shichida Method is a 50-minute course once a week, and that cannot be replaced outside the home because it's such an really engaged and full-on learning that's fun, and it uses music, flashcards, and uses every sort of learning technique that's really been researched. But parents want to know, what can I do at home as well? Obviously, even though it can't replace the class, you can find activities that can actually complement the class. We'll be giving you some of those ideas, and that's generally one of the biggest challenges for parents. How can I make it interesting? How can I be interested and motivated to do that on a regular basis? Now, what are the fundamentals of reading? The main word we'll focus on is association. What is association? Association is about making a connection. Now, picture this. Imagine that every time you have, say, a piece of delicious chocolate in front of you on the table, and every time you picked it up and took a bite out of the sweet, delicious chocolate, somebody screamed in your ear or there was a really loud sound. After a while, you probably would start associating chocolate with that very loud and annoying sound. You might not even like chocolate as much, or you would be nervous when you ate chocolate, even if you did enjoy it. Now, this is making an association or a connection. Chocolate equals loud sound. Again, the loud sound and the chocolate are not necessarily linked unless it happens in the environment. In the same way, words, letters, sentences, and paragraphs are not necessarily linked to language for kids. Speaking comes naturally, just like walking for children. But reading and writing do not come naturally. They actually have to take the moment to learn that and associate a letter, say, for example, the letter A with a, or apple with the actual object. So they have to learn to associate or connect the letters with sounds. A, associate the letters with objects. So, for example, A equals or is the beginning of the word for apple. Also, objects with words. So, apple equals the red or green, juicy, crunchy thing that you can chew, the apple. And finally, the words associated with the things. Now, the words are, we also call them verbs. the things, we say nouns. So to add the verbs to the nouns makes it more engaging, but a child is still learning. Well, what do you do with an apple? You eat it, you cut it, you throw it away when you're done with it. So there's lots of things that kids are actually learning from scratch, which we as adults take for granted. So we create these associations from scratch. We do not take for granted the fact that they don't know anything at this stage. To give you a better idea of that, again, the letter A, the sound A or a child doesn't know that the letter A and A are associated. A child doesn't know that the letter A can be associated with the picture apple. Okay, and finally, the word apple is also associated with the red juicy apple. Finally, the verb, the thing that you can do with an apple, you can chew it, you could bite it, you can eat it, you can swallow it. Okay, so these are also other things. Now, these kind of words and these kind of different perspectives of just the letter A can help a child learn about the words in a more efficient and engaged manner. We'll talk about that later. So, we'll give you an activity idea here. It's called It's All About Association, or Flashcard Fun. Now, write 10 words on 10 index cards. That's all you need. You just need index cards and a texter or pencil. Choose words that are concrete, like table, chair, floor, and then put those 10 words respectively on the object. So if you have the word chair, put it on the chair. If you have table, put it on the table. And then ask the child to get the chair card, and the child gets the chair card on the actual chair. Now, it's important to say to the child this way: can you please get the word chair? As opposed to, can you please get the flashcard on the chair? How does that differ? Well, you're subtly telling the child that the word chair is the thing that's written on the flashcard that's on the chair. Over time, they'll start to associate or connect the fact that word written on the flashcard has to do with the chair. Initially, they won't know that. Initially, it'll just be a game of getting the card on the chair. But over time, as they look at the word CHAIR, then they will say, oh, okay, so this CHAIR word is associated with the chair, it's the thing, the chair, and it sounds like chair. Now, as the child learns to do that, maybe after a few times, maybe after 5 or 6 times playing the game, you can actually give the flashcard to the child. Here is the flashcard. Where does that belong? The child then goes to the chair, puts it there, and you say, yay, very good. You can give them clues. For example, this word or this flashcard has the sound ch-ch-ch, and you give the card to the child, and then the child would put that on the chair as well. So that's another challenge. Always give them clues. Always give them a little support if you find that they might have a little trouble. You don't want to have them lose their confidence. Now, how do we get into our child's viewpoint, our child's perspective in terms of what they like most about reading? We have to really get into the main seeds of why they want to read. Look through their eyes. Kids mainly, we found, like to read, and they do have a natural love of reading. They have a natural love of learning stuff because they want to spend quality time with parents. They want to learn new things as well, so colorful and engaging material generally makes it more interesting as well. Children also want their questions answered. So, quality time with parents. Sometimes the triggers or the kids will say this word, Mommy or Daddy, can you read me the story? What they're really saying to you is, can I spend some quality time with you? Obviously, children do not have the capacity to really express their emotions, but they'll make things very simple for you. They also like new and exciting things as well. So they'll often say, wow, that looks fun, because they really like to learn new things as well. They also learn that books can help them solve tough questions. So sometimes kids will ask you, well, why do I need to wash my hands? And books are wonderful at giving kids an explanation as to these sort of topics. And there's lots and lots of books that deal with that. Now, an activity to help your child's natural love of reading is the activity Read to Me. And all you need is your child's favorite book. So choose a book that a child is familiar with and then you read one page, and then the child reads the next page. Now, the child doesn't actually physically have to read the page. If they can't read, they can just explain what's happening. Then the parent pays close attention to what the child says. What is their viewpoint? What is the most important thing in the story? And what do they omit? So by doing this, then you help understand what your child really, really loves. This helps the child understand what is the most important thing, and it helps you as a parent know what is the most important thing and what you can focus on. Now we'll talk about the nuts and bolts, learning sentences and paragraphs. Now, some obstacles and solutions to that can be the fact that sometimes a child can become overwhelmed. Also, sometimes parents can have overly high expectations. We have to be careful with that. In addition to the fact that the child's fundamentals might not be strong enough. So it's really important to set that up initially. One way you can deal with a child becoming overwhelmed is to break it down into manageable bites. Now, what part does a child love to read the fastest? What is their favorite part? An activity that can help with a child becoming overwhelmed is called Focus on the Most Important Thing. And all you need is a timer or a favorite book. Set the timer maybe on your smartphone or a kitchen timer for 2 to 3 minutes. Open the book at any page, preferably one that the child has the most interest in. And then ask the child, what do you like the most about this page? Get the impression, take your time to listen to them. Now choose a part of the text on the page that best illustrates that part. So for example, if they say, well, I like the red apple. It's like, oh, well, do you like the red or do you like the apple? It's like, well, I actually like apples, but I prefer the color red. So then you can choose that and then help them remind the child about that word the next time around. So the next time you read, the child will actually be able to remember where that word red is, what it looks like, and what it sounds like. You can use that over the next few times your child is going to read that book. Generally, they like to read books more often than not. So it's really important for the child to help them understand the different parts of the word, and they're breaking down the story into little bits. How to help with overly high expectations. Sometimes we really want our child to be the best, and that's important. That's really well and good, but you really need to support their strong points, because when you only look at their faults, you're chipping away at their confidence at their weakest point. Why not build up their strong points so you can perhaps strengthen their weakest points as well? An activity that you can do to help your child kind of be more confident and also help you deal with overly high expectations is to show me the story activity. With this, you can use their favorite toy or their favorite activity. Sometimes children like to draw with crayons or paper, and their favorite book. You could read the book with your child and then ask them, can you show me what happened in the book with your favorite toy? Let the child show you with their toy or draw you a picture or basically whatever activity they want to do with. As your child comes up with the story, note the words they keep using and then write one of those words down. Make a collection of all the words that they have used with flashcards. And in this way, you will be choosing the words that they love, that they're most interested in. So both of you are winning. It's a win-win situation. Now, the third point, helping with fundamentals. It's really important to remember that children actually do love to review. They like to have fun, and they feel a sense of competence when they can do something over and over again in different ways. So it's good to encourage review in different ways, not only for the child, but also for the parent, because then the parent can feel fully engaged as well. So it's more interesting for the parent to do it that way. Now, an activity for parents is called, here it is, helping with fundamentals. All you need is a book about the child's favorite objects. So maybe they have some toy cars or fire engines, or maybe they like animals, or maybe they just like certain colors. Now, read the book and have the objects that are found in the book. So if they are dinosaurs, then have all the toy dinosaurs there. Or if they're farm animals, do that as well. Every time the specific word comes up in the book, the child picks out the object and says, here it is. Show the child what the word for the object looks like. So point out the object and then look at the book and point out the word itself, and then you can even write the first letter or the whole word for the child. The child can later match the word and letter with the object separately. You can draw a simple picture at first, and then you can draw the word or the letter that forms that object. The child will learn to associate these and learn to recognize both the letters and the words and the objects, creating a really much deeper knowledge over time. So again, there are no shortcuts. You want to do something consistently, but also make it fun as well. So that's why the fundamentals are really important to form. Now, how can we help with inputting vocabulary? When we say inputting, we're engaging the child with different words and helping them understand different ways to express themselves. It's really important to use as many words as possible. Research has shown that the ability for a child to learn vocabulary increases as the parent uses more words in their lives. Remember that if you're on your mobile phone ignoring your child while they're on the pram, that will be time wasted that they can't learn vocabulary. Engage with your child. Create the social ability with the child. If you're ignoring them and instead using the phone all the time, then that might be a problem. You really want to be able to talk to your child. Also use your natural intonation. So teach them, for example, question words. How are you? Or would you like some milk? Or exclamation intonations, or even encouraging intonations. That's really good. So then they can start using intonation. The first thing that kids usually learn are the rhythms and the sounds of words and how we use them, even before they learn vocabulary. But be careful with baby talk. You don't want to do, for example, instead of water, you always say wah wah, because the child might not really learn the actual way to say it. Of course, with younger kids, there's a limitation because the muscles in their mouths aren't formed. So they will, for example, with difficult names or words, they'll kind of use a baby talk. But try to use the appropriate pronunciation so the child can learn to understand what the proper word sounds like. Also, feel free to use emotion and eye contact. Children really feel more engaged when they can do that kind of a more emotional conversation. That will help them develop that social brain. Now, you can set the stage by inputting words by using these 4 points. To talk to your child as much as possible, using flashcards, reading as many picture books as possible, and teaching your child a word in many different ways. Talking to your child as much as possible is important because you create the vocabulary foundation that will help them for the rest of their lives. Also, practicing daily phrases that children use will help them make that knowledge even stronger. Use phrases like thank you or please, and again, you can use these over and over again. The activity that we often recommend is called the magic word, practicing phrases. You don't need any materials, and it's best when you do a daily activity such as a meal. When the food is passed around, you can prompt your child, here you are, and then the child will say thank you. If they're not sure, then you could say, what's the magic word? And you'll be surprised. They'll learn how to say thank you much more quickly. As time goes on, your child will learn to use these words automatically. These are also useful when meeting new people. Nice to meet you. Or when you're in an elevator, you can ask, what floor should I press? And you could even add some numbers as well. First floor, second floor, and so on. Flashcards. Flashcard fun is about quality and not quantity. A lot of mistakes that parents do related to flashcards is thinking that the more flashcards, the better. No, you really want to engage your child outside the classroom. Within the classroom, we do provide about 300 plus cards, but outside, you really want to understand that their attention span is their age plus 1 minute. So if they're 2 years old, then they'll have about 3-minute attention span. So you really want to understand that point and focus on quality, not quantity. Now, one fun activity, usually kids from 3 to 4 or 5, is to let the child be the flashcard teacher. Using the flashcards that you've created in the previous activities, get about 10 of them, have the child flash the cards to you. If you want to make your own cards, for example, maybe do a little stick figure in the picture in the front for a dog, and then in the back you will write the word dog. You can show them how to flash the cards, move the cards forward, and then they can ask the question, what's this? And you can say to them, oh, it's a dog. And then they can check. When they feel in control, when they feel that they're becoming the teacher, they actually will get a sense of competency and mastery, because teaching is one of the best ways to learn as well. So then it's also fun to pretend that you're the student and pretend that you don't know, because then that will give them the ability or the motivation to help describe the words even more. Better than asking the child, what is that? Or kind of forcing them to do the homework. In this way, the child actually wants to do it from their heart, wants to motivate, because they want to help you learn the word, even though you actually know the word. Another thing you can do, point number 3, is reading picture books to your child. So obviously in Australia we have lots of cool local libraries to use as a resource, and there are thousands of books available on different topics. So find out what your child loves to learn and also what kind of questions they might ask you. It's good to find a specific place and a specific time of day, because then that will create a positive habit. The activity that you can do is flashcard story time. So use the flashcards again from the previous activity and your child's favorite book. As an extension to the previous flashcard activity, use some of the flashcards or make new ones related to the favorite picture book. After reading a picture book, they can make their own story or tell you about the story with the flashcards. What will often happen is that they'll come up with their own stories and even use new words that they hadn't used before, because they'll make the story even more interesting. Now, this is when you come in. You'll ask them, wow, that's a really interesting story. I noticed you said this and this and this. And then, shall we go look for a book about that? And then you could go on to your next book. And as the child creates more stories, then you could develop kind of the habit of having one storybook lead to another. So then not only does the child learn new vocabulary, the parent also gets some variety in terms of reading books as well, because sometimes parents get a little bored reading the same book. Obviously, you can read the same book over and over again if the child wants to do that, so don't force them to always find a new book. Kind of balance between what they know and something new. You don't want to discourage them, but you also don't want them to be bored. Now, children love to repeat words to learn them. So it's important to remember that children love repetition and practice. And this is why music is so important as well, because music kind of has a rhythm that the children can use, and it helps their memory. So this also helps you kind of make it more interesting for you. And this is a really fun activity, the secret word for the day. So using maybe a flashcard before, or maybe another word, make something very concrete. So for example, the word dog. Write dog in the flashcard, carry it around with you all day. Now, every time you see the dog or a dog, you will add a sticker to the flashcard. At the end of the day, you count how many stickers that you've collected, and which means how many times you've seen the dog. Collect all the flashcards in an album, and guess what? They're going to love learning that word, because it's full of stickers, and it's a great activity for them to do that's really interactive and engaging. Finally, we have power up your reading skills with speed reading. Now, don't let anybody fool you. Speed reading needs the foundation. Anybody that tells you that speed reading can be learned in a week is lying to you. It's a very complex skill, and basically it involves quickly understanding the main point of a reading material and then expanding on that topic quickly, kind of describing it. Visualization ability is increased along with working memory. Now, working memory is the memory. So, for example, you have RAM in a computer, which is the memory that you use while using the computer, and then ROM, which is the hard drive of the computer. Imagine the hard drive of the computer is the long-term memory of the child. The RAM is the memory that the computer uses while it's working. If you're typing something in a Word or text document, for example, and the electricity goes out and you haven't saved it in the ROM or the hard drive, it's only saved on the RAM, the information will disappear if you haven't saved it. In the same way, the working memory is the memory that you need to work at the moment. And then once you learn something at a deeper level, it goes on to the long-term memory. So you're kind of using this all of your brain in that sense. So this is why you need proper foundation. Now, the way that we recommend, the way that we found works most efficiently is these 4 points. Using image training, which helps a child see with their eyes open. So using your imagination and creating kind of a visual world with their eyes open, because this really opens up their minds to the full capacity of seeing the possibilities. This expands their not only their visual capacity in terms of taking in information, but also creating new forms of visual information as well. Point number 2 is eye training, where you're also preparing the eye to actually see what's in front of them in a very easy way. So kind of like seeing as much as possible. Now remember, our brains take in millions of bits of information every second, but we only consciously maybe absorb 3 to 7 bits of information. So our conscious mind filters out most of what we take in. Now with children, they take in much more, obviously, and they kind of have more capacity to see things on a subconscious level, because their minds are still kind of in the right brain mode. So we basically extend that ability towards adulthood, hopefully. So we're trying to help them keep that ability. Now, we then, point number 3, practice on a practical level using speed reading and speed listening. This is actually material which we use for the child. And finally, we do some output with writing practice. So after 4 years old, not before, we really focus on outputting the information. Before that, because the foundations aren't quite set, it's quite unfair and a little dangerous, because you might be taking away their confidence. So point number 1, the image training. Here are some more details focusing on that. Basically, it helps the child see with their eyes open. So they're using their ability to visualize and manipulate data with their eyes open, not just closing their eyes. Obviously, we close our eyes and use imagination play, but imagine if they can use that ability with their eyes open and then try to see how all the data fits. They'll be able to do calculations at a much faster rate. And basically, if you've seen kind of how geniuses work, they take in information quickly and they manipulate it. So that's really, at the end of the day, the definition of a genius, is to be able to use this capacity. Children have this naturally, and if you keep that and extend it to adulthood, your children will be at a higher advantage. Now, we do this also using the child's natural imagination and ability to learn, and their own amazing technology. So it's nothing super special in the sense that we're not adding anything, but we're just taking advantage of the natural capacity to learn. Now, physically, the eye training, there is a certain level of trying to take in the information through the eyes, and a lot of that involves relaxing and helping the child absorb as many details as possible. The child's brain then prepares itself to absorb a large amount of data. So again, the working memory can manipulate that. And then they can really make super fast calculations. So again, if you start this training at a very young age, the child will be at a great advantage. We do speed reading or speed listening, which helps prepare the brain's capacity to hear and to read at a faster rate. We do it at 2 times the speed and 4 times the speed. And even I, as a teacher, have found that this has helped my hearing comprehension and my reading comprehension as well. And I'm a bit of an oldie, so it's amazing that even for me, I've done this 6 years, I've found a great advantage in doing this as an instructor. Can you imagine what kids are learning at 3 or at 4? Now, the child also reads along with the story, so they're able to process the narrative, which is the storyline. And again, stories are how our brains learn the best. They'll be able to learn what the main ideas are and what the vocabulary is, so the vocabulary level will also increase. Finally, we practice output. So it's very important to do this after 4 because that's when we created the strong foundation. Again, this kind of speed reading doesn't happen in a day, in a week, in 24 hours. That's false. You need to really create a strong foundation. There are no shortcuts. But think of it this way. Even though there are no shortcuts, your child is like a super sports car going at full speed in terms of their learning ability. They still have to go around the track, but they'll go at a faster rate than if, say, you have our adult brains. It'll go much slower. So we still have to go around the track as adults. We still have to go around the track as kids, but they will go at a faster rate. So that's the advantage of helping your child learn to read at a much younger age. Now, the beautiful thing is that with writing practice, we don't just teach them to write, we teach them mind mapping. Mind mapping is something that's very common nowadays. It helps children figure out what the main idea is and then create compositions and essays. The child learns to analyze and discuss reading material at a higher level and even do debates. They move simply from the simple secretarial capacity, meaning putting the full stop in the right place, putting the comma or the apostrophe, to creative and analytical ability. They learn to understand reading and reading material at a deeper level. So this is stuff that most kids start doing at high school, much less, but definitely not at 4 or 5 years old. So that, again, your child will just be at a higher ability level just by being exposed to this speed reading method that we use at Shichida. But what is Shichida? Now here's kind of a gist of what we do. And if we could say it in one sentence, we teach the kids to fish. Okay, so you've heard the phrase, teach a child to fish or teach a person to fish, and they'll be able to fish for the rest of their lives. To parents, we actually buy the fish, get the fish, scale it, fry it, put it in a nice plate, add a nice sauce for the parents. The parents get this lovely 50-minute course once a week. Super easy. We give you all the secret ingredients. Super easy for parents, but the kids get the beautiful, engaging challenge. So it's that kind of nice combination of easy for parents, challenging for kids, but fun for everybody. The result is a well-balanced, fully engaged, happy child. Of course, we use the best of both worlds. We incorporate both East and West teaching styles, as well as the latest research. So the Shichida offices in Japan constantly research new ways to improve the program based on brain science as well. So not only do we develop the child's mind, though, we also develop their heart, because one thing that we've learned is that if you really touch their hearts and their emotions in a positive way, their minds will open up to the learning. So we teach your child how to learn. We teach your child how to retain that knowledge and lots of knowledge that they'll need. Okay, yes, we have iPhones and mobile phones, but if you cannot put that in your long-term memory, they won't be able to use that. They're not going to be able to check Google Maps or Google during brain surgery if they become a doctor. They have to have that in their brains. Now, they'll be able to use this in any environment, in any situation. And it will be internal motivation. When a child is motivated internally, you have won the battle. You have won success, because the child will want to learn on their own. And it's inevitable that the child improves. Now, the basic concept we want to remember is that we come from a viewpoint of unconditional love. Accept your child in who they are, see what they can do, and believe us, their confidence will soar. The material we give is age appropriate, so it's not too difficult, not too easy. They're both interested enough, and if we find that when they need that extra bit of challenge, it's highly adaptable. But again, it's very age appropriate. Each activity has a reason for doing it. Think of a big puzzle, and in that big puzzle, there are different little pieces to that puzzle, and those pieces form that huge picture that will help your child become a independent learner. There's a partnership between parents and instructors. We work with you to give you all those ingredients. And again, we just ask that you start as young as possible. We start at 6 months. From 6 months to 3 years old is the sensitive period, so that's a very important thing. But we still continue from 4 to 9, so we keep adding those fundamental and very important things to learn. So again, we hope you benefited from this webinar. And again, this is just the beginning. This is the first step for you. And we hope that Shichida will be a part of your life, remembering that this is the perfect environment for you and your child to get started on their early learning journey. We do offer real live experiences. It's called a free demo lesson, which you can basically get a feel for the class environment. You can inquire about regularly scheduled classes when you come to our free trial class, and you get the first-hand experience with materials. You have the engaged and able instructors like me that love what they do. I've been working here for 6 years, and this is still fun. It's really enjoyable. So make sure, though, to act now because space is limited. And to find out more, call 1-300-FUN-AND-GROW or visit us at www.shichida.com.au for if you have any more questions. And we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.